What is up, guys? Welcome to the Being Beautifully Honest podcast and channel. Thanks for being here, being subbed. If you're not, hit the button. And if you're listening on YouTube, hit the like. It's like walking in the room and hitting that light switch. Let's brighten up the place and get into the politics and BS. So we already know that Donald Trump does nothing but lie. But when it comes to Project 25, there's more that's coming out. A new report has some claims about Trump's so-called ignorance about Project 2025, and I just want to share this reporting with you guys. So let's go ahead and get into it. This is by way of Ali Velshi on MSNBC, and this comes from the Washington Post.
For weeks, Donald Trump has tried to distance himself from Project 2025, which is an ultra-conservative policy blueprint for a second Trump administration, organized and written by the Heritage Foundation. Trump has said in the past, though, that he's moderated his comments since, that he has no idea who's in charge of Project 2025, and he didn't even know what it was. But Project 2025 and Donald Trump are inseparable. At least 140 Trump administration alumni helped create this document. Trump's running mate, J.D. Vance, wrote the foreword of an upcoming book authored by the architect of Project 2025, its new leader, Kevin Roberts. Today, we learned that publication of that book has been conveniently delayed until a week after the election. And tonight, the Washington Post reports that in April 2022, Donald Trump shared a 45-minute private flight with Roberts en route to a Heritage Foundation conference where Trump said in a keynote address, quote, "The group's policy proposals are going to lay the groundwork and detail plans for exactly what our movement will do," end quote. Our movement. Joining me now, Angelo Carusone, President and CEO of Media Matters for America, a nonprofit group that has been doing extensive research on Project 2025 and combating misinformation around it. Angelo, good to see you again.
Thanks for having me.
My mind went to you because you've really studied this thing, and there are sections and chapters on literally every part of government. But fundamentally, if you've gone through this document, what you understand is the most important part of it are not necessarily the specific, very right-wing policies therein, but the idea that it restructures the entire federal government in a way that the next president could not easily fix.
That's exactly right. I mean, it is designed to be not an aspirational set of ideas or just proposals or value structures. It's an actual plan, and you know that because the one document that's not public is not the policy, that 900-page policy document that everybody's talking about, but rather the 180-day agenda document, which is a step-by-step instruction manual for what the first 180 days in the administration are going to look like. What every single office, what every single department, what every key entity is supposed to do, and then underneath that is this thing called Schedule F, which is identifying thousands of key federal government positions that need to be terminated immediately, or firing those individuals. And already they have a database of more than 4,000 people that they pre-vetted that would immediately be slotted into those roles. So it's both a transition team and a deep plan already baked into one. And the design here, as you noted, is to restructure government and also do it in such a way that it can't really be unwound, but rather worse, turn it into an instrument of Donald Trump's revenge.
So this Schedule F, the most boring thing I've ever heard in terms of a name, and meant to not make you think of anything, except that what we don't think about, whether you are from the United States or Canada or the UK or Germany or France or any of these places, is that you don't know the names of the people in the civil service by design. Other than the top person, the minister of something or the secretary of a department, you know no one else's names because they are either career people or experts. Schedule F and Project 25 changes that.
That's right. And as you noted, it's civil service. I mean, the idea here is that these people are doing public service, right? I mean, they're not doing it for the money. They're not doing it for the hours, right, or the perks. They're doing it because it is actually a service. And one of the things that Schedule F does is reclassify what would be civil service positions and sort of reorient them around something that allows them to be treated as political appointees. And that's fundamentally the biggest difference.
We're not talking about 50 jobs or 500 jobs or 5,000 jobs. We're talking about 50,000 positions in the American government that you and I would think of as civil service jobs occupied by people whose names we don't know and will never know, reclassified as political jobs. That sounds like countries that we talk about that have unstable governments.
That's right. And if you think about this in the context of what the right wing has railed against, not just their ideas, but one of the things that we heard over and over and over again was that there was the deep state that was stopping Donald Trump from implementing a lot of the policies that the rest of the right wing really wanted. And this is really a way to sort of go at what the right wing has identified as the deep state. And ultimately, that's just, as you noted, it's the civil servants, but that's why they see this as a mechanism. And this is the part that's so scary about it. It's not just what's being proposed. It's that they actually, unlike last time around when Trump got into office and, after he lost the last election, this time they actually have a resourced plan and the personnel to implement it. And what you're seeing here with sort of this backsliding around Project 2025 or attempts to do that is, you notice that they're not really rejecting the notions around it or the ideas, and there's sort of this wink and a nod and a dance, and even the way they're doing it is kind of lying, as this most recent video, picture sort of illustrates, and that's the part that's so unsettling. They know it's not popular, but they're bent on sort of implementing it, and we should all be deeply concerned about it.
And Kevin Roberts, the guy who was in charge of the Heritage Foundation, have come out and said, of course they're going to disavow it. That's good politics. They should disavow it, but once they come into government, this is the plan. And everybody involved in it, no one involved in it is disavowing it. And these are people who are in Trump's inner circle. This is not peripheral people who had minor jobs in the Trump administration.
That's exactly right. And look, I know why maybe perhaps they wanted to delay the release of this book. I mean, especially until after the election, now that there's a spotlight, now that the media is paying attention to it and asking the kinds of questions and looking into this, I know why, because they would look into the book. We have a copy of it, actually. And one of the things that Kevin Roberts writes about in his book is he describes that having a child should not be considered an individual choice. And there's an entire argument in the book about how that it's not a personal choice, that it's something that society should impose on people, which is why they're opposed to contraception and why that needs to be banned. And part of what that book is designed to marshal a narrative around the very policy that would ultimately be implemented as a result of Project 2025.
I mean, did you listen to that? This Project 2025 stuff is absolutely terrifying. The fact that they don't feel that having a child is an individual's right, like it's something that society should either impose on a person or take away the rights to procreate from a person, but it definitely should not be anyone's right to decide that if they do become pregnant, that it shouldn't come to the end of it, meaning giving birth to a child or not giving birth to a child, even if a 10-year-old girl who happens to have been violated by an adult and winds up pregnant, that's just God's will, but that baby needs to be like, that's just like a few of the things that is in Project 2025 that is petrifying. And so the lies about him not knowing anything about it or whatever, it's not true. He took a private flight with the creator of Project 2025 in 2022. He is definitely involved in this, and he absolutely wants to see this come to fruition. Besides this, he himself has no real policies. Everything that he's doing to run for office, it's self-serving. It's for the enrichment of himself and by proxy, his family. Because honestly, he doesn't really care about his family either. Like, we already have had that proven to us by Mary Trump and Fred Trump when we learned that he got them disinherited from their grandfather's inheritance. And he wanted Fred Trump III to just go ahead and let his disabled son die, stop paying for his care because it's just a waste of money and resources. Those are just a few examples. So for anyone to think that he cares about them and what is going to be for the benefit of them and their lives and their families, it's honestly, I can't even call the people, I could call them, but I won't. I won't call the people who attend his rallies for the most part stupid, even though that's an easy label to give them. But honestly, a lot of them, they're caught up in their emotions of either being racist because that's how they were brought up, born and raised. So they're brought up to be racist, and a lot of them because they grew up in this culture of, we are Republicans, but they vote against their own best personal interests because they're not even in the financial and economic category to be a Republican, because they wind up voting against the things that are going to be more beneficial for their life and their lifestyle. And they get caught up in the celebrity of Donald Trump. It's sad, honestly. It really is, but they don't know any better. And it's kind of like that scripture, Father, forgive them because they know not what they do. They really don't know what they're doing by supporting Donald Trump. It's really not for their best personal interests. So I'm glad that there are more people that are speaking up and speaking out against Donald Trump, Project 2025. There are Republicans that are like, we are Republicans for Kamala, and they are letting their voices be heard and known that we are voting for Kamala and Tim for this Democratic ticket because it's about eradicating Donald Trump and his cronies, and so that we can move forward in this country, because there's a whole lot of issues on both sides. And that's why I'm not a Democrat or a Republican, but it's crazy that it's gotten so partisan where honestly, the Republican Party is no more. And it's now MAGA. And they are 100% only for the things that Donald Trump stands for. And a lot of the people that support that, it's not going to be beneficial to their lives. There was a clip from a rally, and actually I might play that, where someone asked Donald Trump about rent, and he doesn't have any policies for anything with regards to that.
What are you going to do about bringing down the rent and things like that in the economy? Because out of 8 children that I'm a father and a stepfather to, 5 of them are struggling, and I'm giving them part of my income on a regular basis. How are you going to make the economy, not just the the food and electricity, but bring down the rent prices, the housing prices, so that these kids can survive and without their parents' help?
Such a good question,
You're
Mr.
right.
President.
You're right. I hear it very well, and I tell you, first of all, I love the people that you're with. I know that I must have at least 99, perhaps 100% of all of them, and I think they're incredible. We are going to drill, baby, drill. We're going to bring down the cost of energy. Energy is what caused the worst inflation, I think, in the history of our country. Food prices are up 50%, sometimes more. You look at bacon. Bacon is quadrupled. You can't order bacon. You can't order anything. We're living horribly. We have the worst inflation we've probably ever had in our country, and it started because of energy. We're going to drill, baby, drill, and then we're going to have China and all of these countries that were treating us good when I was there toward that. It took me a long time to get them to behave properly. All of these countries are going to, again, stop. Like 4 years ago, I could ask you were in great shape. You had low energy costs, you had low food costs, everything was good. You could buy a house, you had low interest rates, 2% interest rates. You had gasoline at $1.87. Now it's $5. And by the way, going up very substantially. But you had gasoline at $1.87 a gallon. Nobody talks about that anymore. Nobody even can believe it's going to happen. It's going to happen again. We've got to get the energy prices down, and everything else is going to be tumbling down with it, the prices.
What the F is he talking about? First of all, the man said he had 8 kids and stepkids. They're all struggling to pay rent. He's contributing from the little bit of money that he has to help them to not be evicted. He asked him about how is he going to bring the housing costs down, which he's not going to. And he's talking about bacon, China, gas being $1.87, which that's a lie. Gas has not been $1.87. Like, when was the last time you saw across the country, any gas station that had gas under $2.99? Like, seriously, right? So that was a lie. And he's talking about you can't even order bacon. Who's ordering bacon? Like, first of all, he has no struggle with eating. We see that from the weight that he's got on him. But he didn't answer anything that the man asked. And everything is always about him. He started out saying, I have a lot of people, you're with a lot of people that I have a lot of people there that love me. Everything is always about him. This cretin is so disgusting. I don't see why anyone continues to prop him up. And I'm so glad that more people are stepping up, speaking out, and they are saying no more. Yeah, I might be a Republican, and I might be a Republican that has never in my life ever voted for a Democrat, but now I'm voting early and I'm voting for Kamala and Tim, and that's it, because we're tired of him. So guys, you can let me know your thoughts in the comments. Thanks for being here, liking and subscribing. I'm Beth, just being beautifully honest. So until next time, I wanted to keep it brief, beautiful, and now I'm going to say bye.